And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round 6 of the GT3 Championship. You join myself and McToasty at Ruapuna Park. Good evening, Toasty. How are you?
I'm doing good. Excited for this one. I haven't seen many races around this track. It's a tight and twisty one with some high curves, I guess. Some of them are high. It's difficult.
Some of the exits are not friendly, especially coming out of the Southern Salvage S's towards the end of Sector 2. We'll try and catch someone who's getting up there now. It looks like Wadge is about to come into that section. He gets a little wide on the exit. So this is the S's just here, and the exit of this curb is a nightmare for track limit penalties. That one there. So that's definitely we want to keep an eye on. And back at turn 3, the curve, as you said, Toasty, is quite high and is likely to spit a few cars off into the dirt, which is good. We should see plenty of action around here, lots of opportunity for racing, and lots of opportunity for mistakes. So, currently riding on board with Wadge, who had the fastest time in the practice session. He was a low 119. Anyone doing a low 120 is going to be near the sharp end of the grid, but that could be proven wrong. It's a bit like testing. No one really showing their hand till now, so we know a low 119 is possible. We'll just have to see if anyone else can get up there and match it. So whilst we have a bit of time, let's just refresh ourselves with the current GT3 standing. So still on top is this man here, Bruce Law, in that Ginetta. Absolutely brilliant season from him, and he's in the top spot on 136 points. Following just behind is his old friend Blankfile in that big yellow Bentley with 116 points. Only 20 points difference, so that's still up for debate. I think Blankfile could still clinch the win, although Bruce is trying to get his hands on that GT3 trophy, which has escaped him twice already, so he'll be wanting to get that one sorted. Wadge, who we were just with in that white BMW, is in 3rd place. He's on 85 points. In 4th place, we have Jack in that blue and red Ferrari, just coming out of the pits now. He's sitting on 4th place in 76 points. So a little way to go. I don't think he's going to be able to catch up just yet. Sorry, not enough races left, but anything can happen yet. So, finding nothing disastrous happens, that's probably going to be a 3rd place finish, best case for him. Behind him, we have Snarling Bongo in that silver Vodafone McLaren. He is in 5th place on 65 points. Interesting season from Snarling. We've seen him do extremely well in qualifying sessions, and then not really being able to get the results that he needs when it comes to the race. Either sort of getting caught up in the early rough and tumble of the race when the pack's sort of settling in and finding its groove, or sort of making a mistake and getting on the outside of the curbs and the dirt, and just not really being able to keep his nose clean. We saw a much better result from him last week out, so hopefully he's got it all out of his system now and can start to earn himself some good points. In 6th place, you've got a Flux Motorsport, and he's on 64 points, only 1 point split in the two. And he's in that white and pink Lamborghini that I'm a massive fan of that livery for obvious reasons, and it sounds brilliant. And again, we've seen good qualifying pace from Chris, just not really able to lock out that race result that he needs to really get himself up into those top point positions. Behind him in 7th place is Immortalis, currently sitting on 53 points. Again, we've seen it from Immortalis. A lot of these guys have shown brilliant pace, but just not been able to pull the results that they need to really get themselves up the standings table. We know Immortalis has got the pace. He was challenging. I believe he finished sort of 4th or 5th last season out. So definitely got enough in the car to get up there, just not able to keep it together. So again, we definitely want to watch, see if he can start to turn his season round. Behind him in 8th place is Dr. Popford on 52 points, only 1 point separating them two as well. Dr. Popford started the season in that Acura NSX and just couldn't get on with it. Last week out at Sugo, made the decision to change to that yellow Ferrari and get back into familiar territory, and I don't blame him at all. Much better result was him getting out of the way there, the hot lap, so definitely one to watch. Behind Dr. Popford in 9th place on 50 points, only 2 points separating them two as well, is Tibby. Tibby's been racing in the TX3 Audi R8 this week as a change that it's not working out, and has signed himself a new deal with a nice flash Ferrari, hoping to get some better results, obviously following the footsteps of Immortalis Jack, and now Dr. Popford seeking greener grass, one to keep an eye on too. Behind him in 10th place on 37 points is this man here, Flush Effic, in that Audi R8. Been in it from the season 1. If you haven't, go check out his channel. He's streaming at the minute from his point of view. I believe he did quite a big testing session earlier in the week, around about 100 laps, and he's super happy with the setup this week. So hopefully he's got that Audi R8 absolutely singing. It looked absolutely planted when I saw him do 2 or 3 laps earlier on. So he'll be looking to pull out a good result this week as well. Currently sitting in 6th place, about a second off the pace. So not a million miles away, and much better than what we have seen in previous weeks. So good effort all round for him. In 11th place, we have Survivor on 36 points. These guys super close, almost like they've paired up and found friends. So Survivor is in 11th place, just outside the top 10, separated by 1 point. Still in that BMW Z4. We've seen the last sort of 2 or 3 races, really, him starting to get much better performance out of it than his teammate Green Gaming. So hopefully this week is no different, and we'll be sure to keep a close eye on him. Behind him in 12th place is CDN on 34 points, so only 5 points separating, 3 points, sorry, separating these three. He was racing in the that red and black Lamborghini. Again, similar sort of problems as we saw from Chris and Snarlin, able to get it done in qualifying and get himself up well within the top 10, just unable to pull get the results and points he needs in the race. He has opted to swap this week to the Renault Megane in its GT livery, and he's teammated with Luke 42 as well. So we'll see another car that looks awfully similar to this. You're not seeing him twice. He has got a pal with him. The only difference we've got to tell the difference is CDN has blue side mirrors and Luke's are orange. So I apologise now for when I eventually get that one wrong. Behind them in 13th place is Maze Gamer, this chap here in that Mercedes AMG. He has opted for a colour change. That paint last week obviously not bringing him some luck. Going for a much smarter, cleaner look. Lecky, if he's watching, would approve the classic black and yellow. He is currently sitting in 13th place on 33 points. So again, he's only 1 point behind CDN. We've seen him run sort of mid-pack, sort of 7th, 8th, and I believe he's had a 6th result at 1 point, or was definitely fighting for 6th. So he's got the pace, but again, unable to really score big points, which seems to be the sort of tail of the season, really. We had a lot of guys who we thought had the pace and could really get it done, just unable to extract what they need. So we're keeping a close eye on him as well. In 14th place, and I think this is the biggest shock of the standings table, is this man here, Linga Bazinga, currently leading the GT1 championship, I believe. So bags of talent, and again, able to get it done in qualifying. As you can see here, 4th, only sitting 4 attempts off the pole position, but getting caught up in loads of early lap carnage and having to pull off recovery drive miracles week in, week out. So he's currently sitting back in 14th place on 29 points. So he'll be able to climb himself up a little bit higher. I think maybe top 10 is reachable if it all goes his way, but definitely not the season that he would have hoped for, one he'll probably be looking to forget. Down in 15th place, we have Green Gaming, in teammate to Survivor in that Chrome Z4 with a green trim. Quite fitting, really. He's sitting in 15th place on 14 points. Not really been able to get that Z4 working. As you can see, he's made some percussive adjustments on the move around the track there. His mechanics are not going to thank him for that one. So yeah, not really been able to get that Z4 quite dialed in like his teammate has, so still a little bit of work to do. Maybe this track is going to suit it a little better, but we will wait and see. And in 16th place we have Luke 42, and he is on 7 points. He joined us late in the series. I believe he joined last week, finally picking up at a reserve seat, and he was originally in a Porsche in one race, didn't like it, and has opted to sign a contract with CDN as they've gone to teammates. You can see him there with the orange side mirrors. So that's currently how our standings look. Super close at the top. Good run in the middle. Sort of 5th down to 8th, 9th even, are all within touching distance, and then 10th down to about 14th are all still in play. So everyone's got their own little battle going on. We've just got 2 more weeks to find out how it pans out. So 8 minutes left in this session. Currently, this man here, eMotorsports, with an 18.940, is on the top spot. 0.003 of a second quicker than Wadge in that BMW. That is an absolute stonking lap. As I mentioned, going for the grid, this man is no slouch. Definitely has the pace to be on the podium week in, week out. And more impressive, he's driving on a controller, which we don't normally see. Massive amounts of pace with the controller guys, but eMotorsports has definitely got it working for him, so hats off and fair play. Let's just flick down the grid a little bit. It looks like Wadge has some sort of penalty fudging up against his name. Let's just check the time board, and it is. Wadge has been given a 1 grid place penalty, so he'll be dropping down, if it stays as it is at the minute, down into 3rd place. That's not going to help. I'm quite sure how he's managed to pick that up either. Maybe speeding into the pit lane, but unusual on this track. It's a relatively straightforward pit lane to get into and get out of, so I'm sure we'll find out about that after the race. Just behind him in 3rd place is Blankfile in that Bentley on only about 1/10 off, so he's still well within touching distance. And the man I want to try and find here is Bruce Law. So our current leader of the GT3 Championship, 0.6 off the pace in that Ginetta. It looks like he's had a little nudge there, so not entirely sure if he's unable to get it together or just having a bit of a rocky start with it. Toasty, what are your thoughts?
Bruce Law, he was the pole sitter in Sugo last week, and lap times here actually pretty similar to Sugo in the 118s, if I remember correctly. A very different track, though. A little bit more about the track. It opened in 1963 when a lot of volunteers of a motor club basically built the track, and it was, the original track was very short, only 4 turns and 1 mile, or 1.6 kilometers. Current layout is fairly new. The last change made to the circuit was in 1993. It now features 11 turns and is 2 miles or 3.3 kilometers long. Turn 1 was 3/4 of the way down the straight. If you look on the left here, look for the orange cones. Right there was the turn 1, and it was a tight left hairpin that led into what is now turn 9. So the track is now double the length that it was initially.
I'd have to say it gets a lot of stick, this track, I think, from drivers. It's kind of like an open field Monaco. There is absolutely no runoff, and as soon as you hit that dirt, that is it. The car is almost ripped away from you, and you're escorted straight to the nearest lamppost that there is for you to crash into, really. So you have to be, you can't afford to make any real mistakes. Really concentrate about keeping it in the middle of the grey stuff. Unlike sort of tracks like Zhuhai and even Sugo, to a point, there's a bit of runoff before you hit anything. This is not one of those tracks, and as I mentioned at the start of the stream, there is track limits is a problem here. You can, if you clip that exit curb of turn 3 wrong, it will spit you into the infield. And if you don't complete the hairpin, it will not log your lap, so you'll end up a lap down. All the drivers have been warned of this, so they are fully aware. We don't expect to see anyone flying off quite that far. But stranger things have happened. I did notice that it looked like Green Gaming and someone else was parked up on the exit of Casino Carousel, I think it was.
Yeah, I did see that. It looked like Wedge.
So a few drivers still trying to get their eye in. Bruce Law looked like he had a scruffy exit out of 3. That's definitely going to hurt his lap time. Still got his headlights on though, so it looks like he's still pressing for a lap. Currently in 4th, so he has made good dent in getting himself up the grid. Now only 2 tenths off the pace. Montalis has gone back to the pits. He's coming out now. He'll be lucky to maybe get 1, maybe 2 laps, depending on how it plays out. See, Bruce Law looks like he just out of reach to get a little toe down the straight there, which Gennaro could probably benefit from. So stay on board and see if he could do any better than 4th place at the minute, and he doesn't, so he's going to be staying put. It looks like Mate's Game has parked it at the end of the pit lane. We have let all the drivers know that people exiting the pit lane are to give way to the racing drivers on this time round, so racing drivers will take priority into turn 1, and Bruce getting super wide on the exit of 3 there. That's the curb you do not want to be hitting too much. Bruce get it all under braking. His mechanics already had a bit of bodywork to fix. Now they've got quite a lot. As you see there, the little shot of the, as Toasty described it in practice, it looks like the stables.
Yeah, they look like horse stables to me. I don't know. It's stranger. It must have been left over from the original track when the volunteers built it.
It'd be good for the pit crew to get a bit of air in their lungs instead of cooped up in these garages. So this is Immortalis here. He looks like he's still on an outlap. So he's probably going to get 1 go at it. Depends on how quick he can get to the line. Mays has pushed his way through, but it looks like he's on an outlap as well. So you see him trying to get some tyres, and Immortalis is back into the pit, so he's not going to be going for another lap. That is him done. Wadge and Blankfile Lingo are probably the guys most likely to be able to take that spot off of him. Wadge currently 0.003 of a second off, as we see, get super sideways into 3. That is not what you want to be doing. So that, as far as Immortalis is concerned, that's 1 down. Blankfile still to run, and Lingo looks like he is on a lap as well. We'll stay with Blankfile just for the minute as we try and pick up where he is now. Looks like he's coming into turn 3, just where we saw Wadge have that little sideways moment. That Bentley looks planted heavy onto the brakes into the Euromark corner, coming up into Fulton Hogan. I'm probably saying that wrong, and they bear out to the left and come into this sweeping Casino Carousel. Casino Carousel just here, and then they come down to the Southern Salvage S's. This is where track limits start to become a problem on the exit of these. Let's see how Blankfile does. So nice and cautious in, try not to run too far wide. Get the car back over to the right as much as you can. Try not to take too much to curb. That looks like it's about as much curb as you can possibly take as they come into the final corner, the rock sweeper. Bit of an odd one there. Try not to run too wide, and you want to be nice and aggressive on the exit, getting all of the power down as early as you can and using as much of the track as you possibly can to get the best run up the start finish. It is no improvement for Blankfile, so he stays put. Looks like Immortalis could be hanging on to that top spot. Linger still out on track. Mays is out on a lap. Snarling, Jack, Luke and Green Gaming still to run. Let's stay with Luke for the minute. Linga Bazinga, sorry, in that red McLaren 99. Linga has, I believe he took second in Sugo last time out, maybe third, so definitely capable of getting himself up to the sharp end. Let's just see if this is the lap to get it done. Let's see him pushing the car as best he can. Great entry into on the exit of the Southern Salvage S's there. Let's see how he gets around the rock sweeper. Looks like he runs a little bit wide, but able to get the power down in relatively good time, so this might not be awful. 4 temps he needs to find, and he goes no better, so he's going to be staying put. May's just behind him, getting on the brakes. Look like he's going to be doing a practice start, which is a bit unusual. Luke is finished, and Green Gaming is finished, so it's only Mays to run across here. Not entirely sure he should be reversing back up the grid. The stewards are probably going to be taking a little look at this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's within regulations here.
I can't say I've seen anyone try it.
Yeah, certainly not in a qualifying session.
So here he is. Immortalis takes that top spot. He is going to be on the, well, I believe will be the inside into turn 1, but I'll double check that when we go to track. Wadge is in second, but he's got a grid place still to serve, so that will probably swap round. So he's probably going to be in third. Blackfile in second. Bruce is going to be sitting in 4th place, just outside the top 3 in that Ginetta. I wonder whether the Ginetta has had brilliant starts all season, so I wonder whether he can surprise us and get something done in the first sort of 3, 4 corners. We'll be keeping a close eye on him. He has Linga Bazinga for company in 5th, Mays in 6th in that Mercedes, and you watch, he'll have a horrible start now. He's done practicing, he's used all his practice buttons, start buttons up. Flush is in 7th in that R8, a good outing from him, much further up the grid than what we're used to seeing, so hopefully this is the week we see a good result from him. Snarling down in 8th place, not as high as we've normally seen him compete, but still work to do. Chris down in 9th in that white and pink Lamborghini. Jack rounds out the top 10 in that blue and red Ferrari. He has Dr. Potford in the yellow Ferrari for company. CDN in 12th in that blue and orange McGann. To be honest, I'm surprised to see it that high up. The McGann, not a favourable pick normally, but CDN is obviously making it work for him. Tibby in his brand new Ferrari in 13th place. Luke Snipes just outside of company's teammate. I'm sure they would love to be side by side. He's going to be in 14th place. Green Gaming in 15th in that chrome and green Z4, and he has out-qualified Survivor, which is unusual. Survivor's had a good pace for the last couple of weeks in that Z4, so wonder what's going on down there. So 2 minutes of Tinker time. Toasty, what are your predictions?
I'm thinking that Bruce is going to get a great start again here, like you said. It's going to be really tough into turn 1. The slight left-hander that leads into turn 1. The drivers were all going flat out through it in qualifying, but around other cars, especially side by side, they're going to have to be really careful because the inside line turns into the outside line.
Absolutely, and that's a good call. He's also going to be on the outside into turn 1, so probably not favourable. I think you'd rather have been on the inside where we see Wadge's BMW now. Immortalis has got the inside line into turn 1 and to turn 2s through 3, so he should be relatively comfortable. I reckon we're going to see him push Blankfile as far wide as he can. That Bentley almost as wide as the track is, so if Blankfile gets in front, he's going to be a huge challenge to get round. So just running through the grid one more time. Immortalis in 1st place, Blankfile in 2nd, Wadge 3rd, Bruce is in 4th, Linga in 5th, Mays is in 6th, Flush in 7th, Snarling in 8th. Keep an eye on him. I reckon he's be coming through the pack at pace. Chris in 9th. Jack rounds out the top 10 on the outside. Dr. Potford in 11th. CDN 12th in that brand new Renault, Tibby in 13th in his brand new Ferrari, 14th is Luke in his brand new Renault as well. They're currently out qualifying the two Z4s at the back. There is some gentlemanly rivalry going on between the new Megane team and the Z4 team, so keep a note of that one on your notepads, lads. We'll see who comes out with bragging rights at the end of that. So green lights are out and we are away, at a great start from Blankfile, takes that place away from eMotorsports immediately, and Bruce Law is absolutely flying down the outside. Looks like he's just not able to get his nose ahead of Wadge just yet, but he's going to hang on to the outside and follow Blankfile all the way round. And Maze looks like he collects the back of Wadge. That is going to be a Stu's inquiry, definitely. Wadge getting a little squirrely on the exit of 1. Bruce able to keep it together. He's going to be careful of that Mercedes on the inside into 3. The Bazinga coming up through 6th. Flush has held on to 7th. Looks like everyone else is relatively stayed put. Luke has, CDN has fallen back behind Luke, and another little bump there from Linger on Bruce. Maze forcing himself through the awfully pushy and shovey as everyone finds the measure of each other. Obviously the high fuel loads, cold tyres are playing a massive effect, so let's just try and catch out where we are now. Chris coming under pressure from Dr. Potford a little bit. Luke also applying the pressure on Aston in the back. He has Flush for Company, who's gone backwards. He qualified up in 7th, so maybe a little incident or a wobble from him. First lap jitters. Here comes Snarling on the inside into the S's. Great move from him. Looks like iMotorsports has got that move back from Blankfile, so apologies for missing that. We've got action everywhere. Looks like these two have pulled out about a 2-second gap, to Wadge in 3rd. So looks like they're finding a rhythm nice and early. Maze has in the back of that BMW. Maze has had a bit of a rough start. We saw him bump Wadge into turn 1 on the opening lap. Let's see if he can not repeat that feat this time round. He gets late on the brakes. It looks like Wadge has a little lock up. Maybe giving Maze the run down into turn 2. It looks like he hasn't quite got the horses, so Wadge is going to hang on to that for another go. Maybe Maze is going to have a go under braking here into the inside of this hairpin. He isn't, so they are going to stay put for the time being. Bruce lurking around in the background. I'll be worried of that if I were them two, if they're going to carry on fighting like this. So looks like Luke has had a bit of a problem. He's fallen off the back of what was Dr. Popford, so he's going backwards. Snarling starting to come back up through the pack. He's currently finding himself in 10th place. I told you that he'd be making moves. Green Gaming just behind him at 11th, so Green Gaming obviously following suit, getting on that train nice and early. Let's try to get back up front with these guys. Looks like Blankfile is still hanging on to the back of iMotorsports. And as I've said, race and race again. Every time I've sort of commentated with iMotorsports drives at maximum attack all of the time. I'm not sure the man knows how to save fuel, save tyres or anything. He just puts his foot flat and drives that car as fast as it goes for the full 42 minutes. So Blankfile has got his work cut out for him. There's going to be no respite. So if Blankfile is going to try and nab this win, he's going to have to drive as quick to keep up and almost force the error or really force the overtake. No easy task lies ahead. We see him have a little look on the inside there, just a little bit too far back. Maybe just letting iMotorsports know he's there, letting him feel the pressure a little bit. Let's just cast our eyes backwards slightly. It looks, I'm not quite sure who has missed there, or whether we just had a little incident out of that hairpin. It looks like Jack has made some places up to 6th, and he's got Linger behind him for company. Chris has come up through the ranks a little bit as well into 8th. Dr. Potford in 9th. Snarling still rounding out the top 10. See Linger getting on the outside of Jack into the S's here. He's going to have the inside line if he can make it stick. Jack covers it off. Linger tries to force to the outside now. Unable to get his nose in the right place just yet. Jack probably going to recover the inside off. He doesn't, but Linger's too far back, switches back to the line. Probably going to take the run. He doesn't. He gets Jack offline on the exit. That's a brilliant move. Well done, Linger. He should be able to drag race and keep up in that McLaren down into turn 1. Get this done under braking. Brake just a little bit later, force Jack to the outside. That looks like that Ferrari's got more legs than I gave it credit for. Great defensive drive from Jack. Super brave. Good trust from both drivers there to not just punt each other off and keep in turn 3. They're sort of driving as one car. You can throw a blanket over the pair of them. They've got the Lamborghini of Chris lurring around in the background there. He'll be looking to capitalise on any mistake, or just the fact that these guys are fighting the time deficit. Once we keep an eye on this, let's just jump forwards a little bit. It looks like Blankfile unable to get into an overtaking position just yet. The timing board's telling a few fibs. It's like Bruce is starting to hassle the back of Mays now. Bruce obviously getting bored of seeing the back of that yellow and black Mercedes. He's going to be looking to dispatch that and get after Wadge, who's ended up in a bit of a buffer of clean air really. He's about a second back off Blankfile and about a second ahead of Mays, so he's got a little bit of respite, but not too much.
That BMW is quite difficult to drive around here. I was trying it out myself. I was about 4 seconds slower than he was in qualifying, so I'm very impressed with Wadge's pace right now.
It looks like Jack is starting to become a little bit of a cork in the bottle here. He's driving superbly, great defensive driving. He's backing Linger up into Chris Motorsport and his Lamborghini, and Dr. Potford is sitting off the back of Chris, and he has got Snarling for company. So very soon this is going to become a 5-way battle. And having raced with Jack and seen Jack drive, his defensive capabilities are immense. He's arguably one of the hardest drivers to overtake. So this is going to be a challenge for all 4 of these drivers who are trying to get round him. Jack currently hanging on to that 6th place. It looks like he hasn't quite got the pace to get up and after Bruce, Mays, Wadge, Blank and Immortalis. So this is potentially going to be for position if Jack can keep hold of it. And you can see Linger just applying as much pressure as he can, trying to force an error or some kind of mistake. And it looks like Blankfile has fallen about a second, 1.3 seconds off the back of Immortalis, maybe easing off or just making a little mistake on the next of a corner somewhere. And we'll get up and check with that as soon as we can. This currently is where the action is though. So nothing doing into turn 1 yet. The cameraman has a day off here. Dr. Potford, so Chris, Dr. Potford and Snarling are starting to form their own little train. And as I say that, Linger looks like he got around the outside into turn 3. Jack should have this covered on braking into the UMR corner though, and he does, covers off the inside so Linger can't get back underneath. Great defensive driving from him, great offensive driving from Linger to get around the outside of 3. That's a very brave move, a lot of trust in the guy he's racing against. And as you can see from Linger, he's trying to get his nose just offline so he can pull Jack off of line, trying to make that gap, which is why you're seeing him sort of jink in, jink out. You can see it more there. He's trying to get Jack to make a move and essentially what it says on the tin, force the mistake, make Jack defend something that isn't coming and capitalise on the open hole that he's left open. It looks like he breaks super late in there. He's going to try and get back up underneath and have a drag into turn 1. There it is. Looks like he gets a little bit of curve and can't quite make that stick. Should have the draft into turn 1 though, but that Ferrari has definitely got the legs as we saw previously. See Linger having a little look again, trying to force Jack to defend something that isn't going to be coming, scrub off some speed he didn't need to. A big lock up from Dr. Potford in, looked like into turn 1. They all keep it clean.
Interesting that we saw that lockup. GT3 cars usually run with ABS. That's usually a thing we only see with GTE cars.
That is very true. A lot of these guys do actually prefer to run with it all off. I'll try and find someone who does, if I can bring up their speedo. As you can see there, so Immortalis is one for definite, I know. He's driving on a controller and he opts to have no assists turned on either, so he likes full control of his motor vehicle. No confusion over Hughes driving that one. And it works for him. He's lost a little bit of time to Blankfile. We saw a lead develop up to about 1.3, and that's dropped down to about 3/10 again now. So Blankfile getting back on pace. It looks like he's really in position to start hassling Immortalis. I'm sure he's a little bit too far back to get anything done under braking now. But we'll stick with it as we saw Linger go around the outside into turn 3 just here. I don't know if Blankfile's going to be quite as brave just yet. Looks like that gap's a little bit too big, but could be something on into the hairpin here, maybe. Hard to gauge from this camera angle, and it's not just yet. So it looks like Linger and Jack are still dance partners. This train here of Chris, Doctor and Snarlin hasn't changed either. How is Bruce and Maze getting on? It looks like they are further apart than the time board gives us credit for. In fact, Maze is actually getting on the back of Wadge now, so Wadge's little breathing gap as these little bubble has come to an end. So he's now got Maze for company. Albeit it looks like nothing too challenging just yet. It will come to play a part later on in the race. So, just for a brief moment, let's look towards the back of the grid. So, this is the gentlemanly rivalry between BMW and Renault that I'm not sure BMW and Renault knew they had. CDN and Luke in the Renault Gans, Green Game in a Survivor in those BMW Z4s. It looks like CDN's got a relatively healthy gap to these guys battling behind him. Luke is being the rear gunner here and holding up Green Gaming and Survivor. Not a lot doing just yet. So back to the top of the grid. It looks like Maze just got his nose ahead for a fraction of a second there, but still unable to get anything done just yet. And is that Immortalis? It is. Immortalis has fallen backwards, so little mistake from him, I bet. He's got stuck behind Jack. I see Maze Gamer going wide there as well, so it's all going Pete Tong for the guys up front now. They're obviously taking their tyres a little bit beyond the limit, so that's going to give Blankfile a 5-second gap to Bruce, who's been gifted the places back from 4th, and he is about a second to 2 seconds clear of Wadge, which he'll be more than happy for. So he hasn't got to get any overtaking done, just defensive driving for him, and he'll have eyes forward getting hold of Blankfile. So Immortalis now behind Jack into turn 1. He has Maze, Chris, Snarling and Linger. And we've got Dr. Potford is probably on the back of this train as well. So all 6 cars. Sorry, Dr. Potford's just off the back of them, so 5 seconds. 5-car train here coming together. Jack getting a little wider than the exit at turn 3. That will certainly help.
Linga looked like he was off the track on the previous lap. I wonder if him and Immortalis had some contact, and that's why Immortalis dropped back here.
Unfortunately, we did miss it on the stream, but I think you could be right. It will definitely appear in the steward's inquiries room if it does. It looks like Snarlin and Linger are teaming up, so the 2 McLarens are starting to get together. Our 2 Dutch friends, I believe they're still living in the same apartment together, so team order should be a relatively easy one for them to navigate currently. It looks like at the back of the grid in the Renault and BMW fight, Survivor and Green Gaming have swapped round to have a different go at it, or they could be fighting between themselves, but this is the action we want up the top. So Chris in that white pink Lamborghini looks like he's going to make a move into turn 1 on Maze. Maze defending really hard. That was a bold move from both drivers there. That's going to let Snarling and Linger get through, and maybe Dr. Potford, if he can get a move on, looks like he's maybe slightly too far back. Flush running 11th, unlikely to get rewarded any spaces out of that one. Jack still hanging on to that 4th position. Only sitting about a second off of Wadge, actually. Wadge unable to really pull away, although Jack's really been unable to close up either, so maybe these two are sort of running a similar pace. Linger is still sort of trying to live around behind Snarling. I don't think I'd be surprised anyway to see these guys fighting too hard. I reckon that they are likely to work together just a little bit and see if they can't catch up and start challenging for that 4th place as well. Immortalis is the man in their way. Mays and Chris Gamer are not finished dancing either. Looks like there's going to be another round of this, maybe back into turn 1 when all is said and done. Chris needs to be careful on the exit there. That could well be a slowdown if you're not careful.
Bruce put in 1 second faster lap last lap than Blankfile. He's closing up that gap just bit by bit.
That is a very good spot. After all was said and done and the dust was settled, it looked like Bruce was about 5 seconds back off of Blankfile, I believe, and that's come down to now 3.7. So Bruce and Blankfile, obviously our friends from Curb Clippers, they race over there, race together for a long while. Blankfile made his debut season with us at Flux Motorsport last season out and took that trophy away from Bruce. Bruce has been at his eye on it for 2 seasons now and has just been out of reach. This has been his golden season. I think this is closest he has been, currently sitting on pole position with only 20 points separating him from Blankfile, so it's still not a done deal, but it definitely means something between those two. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce has got the maximum concentration, maximum effort, eyes forward, pedal to the floor.
Yeah, he's going to be thinking about Sugo last week. He was leading and ended up having a bit of oversteer out of a corner and ended up taking second that race. But yeah, this is their places are switched right now, and he's going to be on the charge.
Absolutely, and we are coming up to halfway, 13 laps done, so probably about 30 laps maybe when all is said and done. So a little while to go just yet. Snarling and Linger look like they've swapped around. Fortunately, we missed that overtake on the stream. I do apologise. So Immortalis is now the man they are going to be chasing. I think they're going to be on the back of him sooner rather than later. Looks like Jack and Wadge have still settled down. Immortalis unable to get on the back of Jack. Maybe a little bit of damage that we can't see playing out for him. Whilst got a bit of a lull in the action, let's look back how this manufacturer's fight is going. So CDN is still in front in the Renault Megane by what looks like quite a way. Survivor has overtaken Green Gaming, and the two Z4s have swapped round, so maybe some team orders coming into play. And Luke has fallen right off the back. So maybe a bit of contact that we haven't seen, or maybe a mistake from Luke, but Luke is going to have to do something to dispatch those two Z4s to get Renault maximum points, or maximum bragging rights, as that's what they're actually playing for. Back to the serious points. Looks like Chris has gone round in the background there on the exit of the rock sweeper. That's a shame from him, and this is what I said in qualifying. He's showing he's got the talent and the pace in qualifying, just unable to keep it together for the full 45 minutes, which is a real shame really. He should be rewarded for his efforts a lot more than what he actually is.
Sorry to cut in. I think Snarling Bongo might have yelled through the wall to Linga, go ahead and catch up to Immortalis, slow him down for me.
I think that's closer to the truth. Then we realise Lincoln are getting a little bit wide on the exit of the casino carousel. That won't help. Maybe a little slowdown from him. He is closing on the back of Immortalis, albeit he's not sort of charging him down. I think lap by lap he is chipping away. I think maybe another 2-3 laps before we see anything concrete happen. Whilst we are there, we have just missed him. They'll try and catch him on a full lap before we do our little ride along that we seem to be doing each week. Let's just jump on board with Bruce, as you said, he's got that gap down to a consistent 3.5 seconds now, so definitely work to be done there. Looking a little further back, so we saw Chris last lap of the lap before have a little spin on the exit of the rock sweeper. That has allowed CDN to catch up. I'm not sure he's a little bit too far back to do anything into turn 1 just yet, but he's definitely making headway into getting that done. And we see flushed just at the bottom of your screen there in his TX3 Audi R8. He's rounding out the top 10. A good finish from him. It does look like he's had a little knock or a little dent. I believe that front bumper looking a little bit wobblier than it should be. Could just be the angle I was looking at. So let's jump on to the cockpit of Blank File as he comes into turn 1, braking nice and heavy. In a second, try not to take too much of the exit curve here as it pulls the car away. Down into turn 3, little dab of the brakes just to get the nose in, cut the grass as much as you dare, and take as much of the exit as you dare as well. This big heavy Bentley should have no problem. Braking just at this orange cone here, nice and heavy, maybe down to first. It is rotating the car as best you can and getting on the throttle nice and early. Driving through the Fulton Hogan corner just now, it looks a lot slower than what it it is a lot slower than what it looks. Nice and careful through here into the casino carousel. Again, nice and patience on the throttle, careful not to spin it on the exit curve just there. Coming into the Southern Salvage S's, nice and conservative on the entry, trying to get that big Bentley as far back right as he can. Perfectly executed by Blank File there, not too much of the exit curve either. You'll get a time penalty into the final corner of the rock sweeper. Braking as late as you dare, try not to run too far wide. It will end up scrubbing more speed than you need to off, using all the track on the exit with that throttle at maximum as he tries to power down to the start-finish line. And that is 1 lap of Ruapuna Park, and we'll start just a little bit longer just to see that braking point into turn 1 from his point of view. But just at that 100 board, super brave. That is very neat and tidy from our current race leader, Blank File.
I think he's starting to respond. He saw that split time going down, and I think he's start to turn on the rocket boosters here.
As I said, but it is a little bit personal between these two. There will be no love lost. They're great friends and great drivers, so I'm hoping that it all comes to a head towards the end of the race and we get some last lap excitement. Just casting our eyes back a little bit, it looks like Immortalis has fallen back behind Linger and Snarling. Mays just on the back of a pair of them. So Snarling's team orders have come off. Linger has done what he needed to do. Whether Immortalis helped him or not remains to be seen. Coming through the carousel, that Immortalis' Ferrari looks a little bit edgy. Maybe the tyres have just not held on quite as much as he would have liked. Snarling looks like he's got a comfortable gap at the minute. Linger is only 2 seconds. Looks like 2 seconds off the back of Jack. So Linger looking to get himself up towards 4th as quickly as he can. It's just over halfway, so still enough time to get it done, but he's going to have to get a wriggle on if he wants to move any sort of conviction. Immortalis looks like he's a little bit too far back into turn 1. This should just be a little follow-around lap from him, trying to chip away at that gap. And it's a shame to see, really. We saw him set the fastest time in qualifying, and as the race has progressed, he's sort of just gone further and further backwards.
One thing I've noticed about the Ferrari, both the GT3 and GTE versions, they don't seem to fare very well in longer races. When those tires start to wear, the car feels very different compared to other cars in each of the classes. Seems to be one of the downsides of that car. Each GT3 car seems to have their small advantages and disadvantages.
And I think we're seeing perfect evidence of that this time out. eMotorsports looks like he just hasn't got the pace that he once started with, albeit he's attacking the back of Snarling. He's not really giving him anything to worry about just yet. It looks like he's only just about managing to hang on, so definitely a drop in pace from him. If he's not careful, he's going to have Mace for company in that AMG as well, so Talis is going to have to think of something to get himself back on track. Just looking backwards a little bit, looks like Flush has managed to just drop out of that top 10 spot for a moment. Chris has been able to get it done. I wonder whether that's going to start to heat up at the minute, whether it's a mistake from Flush or just Chris getting the move done fair and square. Looks like there's nothing doing at the minute. We'll keep an eye on it as we see Mays getting contacted to the back of eMotorsports. That's the second time this race we've seen Mays touching someone else. I think in the train we call that heavy petting. Stewards' inquiries are going to be all over him this race. Last thing eMotorsports needs is any help in going further down the grid. He seems to be more than capable of doing that himself this week out. That's going to allow Snarling to get away a little bit, which is probably the breathing space that Snarling needs. I think eMotorsports is going to struggle to close that gap back up now. And as I say that, Sedlinger was going to be on the charge. It looks like he's starting to get on the back of Jack. We've seen Jack do some brilliant defensive driving already this week, so we know he's capable of it. It looks like he's going to have to prove it again in maybe a lap, 2 laps time. Whilst Linga Bazinga is chipping away at that lead, let me just take you through what we've got coming up this week at Flux Motorsport. So, currently in week 7, on Tuesday we have Murphy with the touring cars at 8 o'clock UK time, and the touring cars are heading to Catalunya National in Spain. Brilliant little track, probably going to be extremely hot and a nice tyre cooker for the Megans, so I'd probably put my money on one of the BMWs picking it up. We saw them have a great run out last week from the Leggy father and son combo, so they'll be ones to watch. Make sure you tune in for that one. On Thursday at 8 o'clock UK time, we have Lecky and yourself, Toasty, with the GT1s, and you are going to be heading to I butchered that saying, and I apologise, Rouen Les Essarts in France.
That's how I would say it too, and I'm half French, so I can...
Then I will take that. That counts all the points for me. That is where the GT1s are going to be. That's an interesting little track choice for that one. Not one you see crop up all the time. I'll definitely be tuning in, finding out how those GT1s are going to get around there. On Friday, you can join Carlin Hicks in the GTEs at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And they're going to be going around Laguna Seca. Classic track and a classic combo. Almost a bit of a staple point of racing, I think, Laguna now. So that'll be one to watch as I cycle through here. So on Saturday is the first of our double headers, and you can join Giacomo at 8 o'clock UK time as he takes the LMP2s off to Indianapolis Road Course. That's going to be a brilliant race, nice and flat for them LMP2s, not too bumpy, so they can stiffen the suspension and get all the downforce on and really hound it round. And then on Saturday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, make sure I get all my timings right here, ladies and gentlemen, 8 o'clock Eastern time, you can join Pogo with the IndyCars as they head also to Laguna Seca. So Laguna Seca getting a run out. There was obviously a buy one get one free offer deal for IndyCars and GTEs as they head there. IndyCar has been proven to be a sort of an unsung hero this season. Some great racing. I don't know if you saw the overtake of the week from Lecky. I think it was early this week it went out on the outside of Road America, coming over the little hill. Great little move. Next week,
that was a good one. Oh, sorry. I was going to say that was a good one. I had a good view of that. I was right behind him.
Hopefully for not too long, Toast. So next week you can join myself and Toasty as we head back to Dubai Autodrome, this time the national circuit. So a much different layout to what they did at the start of the season. That's going to be another tyre cooker, I expect. But everyone's setup should be dialed in and ready to go. And then later on tonight, even, you can join Carlin and One Shoe, I believe, in the commentary box at 8 o'clock Eastern Time for our Stock Car Championship. This week they're going to be racing at Watkins Glen Short, and next week they're going to be at Indianapolis Oval. And hats off to, if you haven't tried it already, any person who tries to drive a stock car around a road course is far braver and talented than I am. So Linga Bazinga looks like he has got right on the back of Jack. Looks like he's still a little bit too far back to get anything done just yet, although he's probably going to try and prove me wrong. He gets on the brakes to turn 1. He opts not to do anything just yet, Jack hugging that inside line, so this is probably going to be another little parade lap for a little while. Maybe next lap Linga will be a little bit closer. As we see someone getting off in the dirt there, that'll be a blue flag situation. I think it could be Luke. Getting on the inside of Jack there, but unable to get anything done just yet. Forced to fall back in line for this little windy section here as they come up towards the casino carousel. Still trying to get Jack off of his line. Jack's having absolutely none of it. Whilst I forgot to mention, if you are watching at home and you fancy getting involved in any of this action, like we can see between Jack and Linga right now, head over to www.fluxmotorsport.com or any of our social media channels and find a link to our Discord server where you can get involved in some of this action. As you've heard, all the races that are coming up this week, all streamed, all broadcast, all commentated as well. And looks like that blue flag has given just enough of a run on for Linga to have a little sniff into turn 1. Looks like Jack's Ferrari is going to out-drag it, and he looks like he's much braver on the brakes and covers the inside. Great effort from Jack to get all of that done in under braking as well. Little flash of the lights there, probably an acknowledgement, as they both managed to do it without having a crash. That's fantastic driving from the pair of them. That could have come as a better time and as advertising all this action that you could be a part of as well. On the website we also have some Flux merch going, and we've got some new goodies coming up as well. We're currently doing some work on the website, so keep your eyes peeled on that one as we have some big and good stuff coming. And if none of that takes your fancy, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe. It helps support the channel, helps us out massively. The more support we can get from you viewers at home and show appreciation for even the drivers out on track means we can bring bigger and better content with bigger and better prices too. So 12 minutes left to go, 25 laps done. Bruce has closed the gap down to just under 3 seconds, but that could just be where the track is backing them up. As we see the time will catch back up with himself. Linga still on the back of Jack. He has been unable to get this move done into turn 1, although it looks like every lap round it seems like that's his best opportunity, or maybe the exit of the Euro Mark corner, but unable to produce anything just yet. Snarling looks like he's got Immortalis for company, but Immortalis having a little picking it out in the dirt. It looks like he's lose that place to Maze. He is, so Immortalis' day goes from bad to worse as he heads further down the pecking order. Looks like Flush has gone backwards a little bit as well. He's dropped out the top 10 down to 12th, so maybe tyre wear starting to become a bit of a problem for these guys. Jack unable to close on the back of Wadge just yet, so Jack still with Linga with company, so that's understandable. Wadge has ended up in that little, he's sort of been in third from the start of the race and has had no one really bother him. He's been in sort of his own little personal bubble. Oh, we see him. Was that a little touch in the exit of the S's? Don't think it, well, it must have been. Maybe just a little bit of a miscalculation there. Looks like Jack has been able to get away relatively unharmed. Linga Bazinga loses 2 places to 3 places in fact to Snarling, Maze and eMotorsports, so all that hard work has been undone. Only 10 minutes left to go, so he's not got loads of time to get this done. Snarling, the biggest winner out of that really, other than Jack, now being rewarded with a 5th place. That'll be brilliant in getting his fight for 10th place back on track. Looks like this is the Z4 of Green Gaming in the way at the minute. He should be getting out of the way on the exit of this corner just here. I expect to see pull right off the racing line and get on the brakes. Quite tricky to let people through on this track. It's super narrow and the racing line sort of snakes its way through, so he's doing the best he can. Looks like he didn't hold anyone up too badly through all of that. Maze is hassling the back of Snarling. Snarling has been under pressure before through this race and has done well to keep it clean and together. We've seen Maze has had a little bit of a elbows out, a little bit too much this race, so he will likely be in the steward's room having a little bit telling. See him touching doors with Snarling there. Snarling didn't quite close the door under braking, and it looks like Maze is going to hang on to that. Snarling runs wide on the exit of the block sweeper. Is he going to lose any more positions? He is. So Maze has got himself through. Linga Bazinga is now coming up the inside of eMotorsports into turn 1. The move he couldn't get down on Jack. Snarling has ended up behind eMotorsports, so he's got that work to do again. These three are going to fight it out for a little longer. Maze is about a second up the road, but I expect Linga should be able to close that down within the, what do you reckon, 7-8 laps?
Possibly, yeah. Then we could see something similar to Sugo, them running really close 1 and 2. It looks like Snarling might have hit the wall after that contact with Maze. His front end of the car looks a little damaged.
It does look like he took something for his troubles. This is the closest fight on track at the minute, so we will stick with it. Linga in 6th, eMotorsports 7th, Snarling 8th. I think really these three haven't left each other alone. I haven't been too far away from each other all race long. No matter how far up the track they get, they always seem to end up bunching back together not too long afterwards. So great for us to watch. We get to see some brilliant close action racing, but probably frustrations are probably running high in both McLarens, definitely that Ferrari. Still nothing doing into turn 1. The three of them opting just to run in line for the time minute, maybe letting the tyres cool back down, get a little bit more of a level head before they go dancing once more. Maze still within reaching distance for Linga, eMotorsports and Snarling, so Maze is going to have to do extremely well to hang on to that 5th place. Jack is only 3 seconds up the road from Maze, and what a brilliant drive from him. I'm going to say I think he could be my driver of the day, although I probably shouldn't say that. Is my little behind the scenes rivalry between me and Jack. I don't like losing to him, and he definitely doesn't like losing to me, so maybe I'll pick someone else just to annoy him.
I had a look at the track temperature at the start of the race. It's right on that, right on the edge of whether to use soft tires or hard tires. 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 Celsius. So we'll have to see if any of the tires start falling off the cliff here towards the end and are as a result of being overheated.
We have seen this a few times this season, where some of the chaps have opted to go for a soft compound. Normally it's blank file, and I think eMotorsports is a little bit of a fan of the soft tyre too. So I think you're right. I think that some drivers have opted to go for a mix. I heard rumours that Luke was opting for a bit of a mix-up in his compounds, maybe having a soft on that. What would it be, the front left? Obviously that hasn't played out terribly well for him. but it's not uncommon within the GT3 series. I know Bruce tends to opt for hard tyres majority of the time, although Bruce tends to pick tyres right for the conditions, which is probably the better way to approach it, but 9 times out of 10 he finds himself on hards, and I think it's going to more come down to tyre wear more than temperature in this sort of scenario. And for those who aren't familiar, we run accelerated tyre wear in the championship races, so that to simulate real world as best we can within a 45-minute session. So by the end of the race, the soft set of tyres probably getting well beyond used, I think is the word. The hards are probably left with about a half a tyre still to go, probably a little bit more. So I can see why the hard would be a more favourable choice, but the soft can definitely work if you can make it last the full run. Just skipping forward just a little bit, just to give ourselves something a little bit different to look at for the minute. It is now Jack's turn to defend again against Mays Gamer. He's been hanging on to that 4th spot as if his life depended on it. We've seen Mays be a little bit heavy-handed in some overtakes previous, so maybe he has the winning formula to get it done on Jack. You see him getting a little bit squirrely on the exit of those S's there. Looks like he's not going to get anything done just yet. That Ferrari will have a much better horsepower sort of ratio compared to the AMG than that McLaren did. We've seen him overtake previous, so he won't just be able to just pull up and drive round. And as we've seen, Jack has been driving brilliantly today. And whilst I said that, I think it just popped up on my timing board that Bruce is now within a second of Blank, just for a brief second there. So 3 minutes 40 seconds to go, so 3, maybe 4 laps left to do here, and it is all starting to heat up. We are probably going to end up now with more action than I can commentate on, as Mace forces himself into the inside, heavy under braking. Looks like a little bit of elbows out action, and Jack is going to fight that one back all the way. Can he get anything done into Fulton Hogan? He can't. It looks like he stayed with him though, so Mays currently hanging on to that 4th position. Jack will have something to say about that in the not too distant future. Immortalis Linga unable to do anything. It's like Snarling has fallen off the back just a little bit. We'll keep an eye on them, but let's get up the front as the cameraman just orientates himself a little bit. There is Bruce Law, and that is Blank File just coming through turn 3, and you can see how close that gap is now. Great shot coming down into the Ewan Mark corner. Not sure whether Bruce has just been putting in better lap times, and whilst we've been focusing on other action, he's been chipping away at it, or whether there's a little bit of a mistake from Blank File. Blank File not known for making massive mistakes, neither is Bruce, to be fair, so I expect Bruce has been chipping away at this for a little while. 2 minutes 10 on the clock, so that is probably going to be 2 laps to go. Just over 34 laps done, and we can see the back marker of Chris in 11th coming up there, so I wonder whether Blankfire will catch him at the wrong time and just back him up just a little bit to give us a little race to the finish.
I wonder if we're seeing what we just talked about, Blankfile maybe on the softs and Bruce on the hards, if those soft tires are starting to wear, and that's why Bruce is catching up here right at the end.
It is a definite possibility. I also wouldn't rule out fuel loads. If I know Bruce will have his fuel strategy down to an absolute T. So that Ginetta will be primed at the minute. It will have just enough fuel to get him over the line. So there won't be any excess weight in it whatsoever. And I wonder whether Bruce has maybe got a little bit of extra weight already in that Bentley, plus a little bit of extra fuel he maybe didn't need. And as you said, with tyre wear as well, it all starts to make a difference and it gets amplified as you get to these closing stages. 57 seconds left to go. We're going to stay with blank file to the end. I think there's going to be one more lap to go after this one. So Bruce running out of time if he is going to get it done. I fear it could be a second place finish for him. Looks like everyone else has fallen into line as well. It looks like there's some time penalties to resolve, so there's a chance that these won't be the finishing positions for 3rd down to 8th and 10th down to 13th. We've all got some sort of penalty that we will check out at the end. So here it is. Blankfile crosses the line to start the final lap. He gets the rear sort of stepping out just a little bit on the entry into turn 1. It could just be the angle we were looking at it. Bruce is about 2 seconds back at the start of the lap, so this is going to be a colossal comeback. If it is, it will definitely be one for the highlight reel if he pulls it off.
Well, he'll be pushing as hard as he can. He has about a 20-second gap to 3rd, so doesn't have much to lose really between 3rd place right now.
Well, the problem is Wadge is the third place sitter in the standings table, so Bruce can't afford to overextend, make a mistake and lose out by picking up damage or fouling one of the sector gates or any sort of number of incidents, because he can't afford to lose any points really to Wadge either. The Blank, Bruce and Wadge are all in the top 3 in the standings as well. Blankfile comes around the final corner. Looks like he has got it done. A great drive from him. Saw him get round eMotorsports nice and early on the outside in the opening laps. Brilliant drive from him. Bruce comes along home in 2nd. Another brilliant drive from him. Unable just to get it done in the final stages, which is a shame. It looks like Wadge has held on to that 3rd place. He got hold of it really early in the race and just hasn't let go. Hasn't pushed himself to try and keep up with Blank and Bruce, but has been quick enough to not be troubled by anyone else behind him. So, great drive from him. He'll be happy with that one. Mays comes home in 4th for the time being, but obviously we've got a few time penalties still to resolve, and I think the stewards will be having a little look at him as well. Looks like Linger just made it past Jack. Went all the time into Sed and John. Jack falls even further down behind Immortalis, so maybe quite a hefty penalty for him. We won't see when the timing board comes up. Starling gets home in 8th place in the end. Saw him up at 4th at one point, but he made contact with Mays, I believe it was. Or was that Linger? It was one of the McLarens. So much action, I can't keep track of it all. Dr. Potford coming up the start-finish line in his yellow Ferrari in 9th place. CDN in that McGann has proved me wrong, to be fair. He comes home in 10th place. Good first outing for him. And that is the session ended for us. So, this is the official results. This is the bit we are interested in. So, Blankfile comes home in 1st place, and it looks like Mays Gamer with the fastest lap. 19.9. So Blankfile in 1st, Bruce comes home in 2nd, Mays Gamer in 3rd with the fastest lap point for him. In 4th place we've got Wadge. So Wadge actually with quite a large time penalty just fell out right at the end. I didn't expect to see a time penalty quite that big. These have mixed the whole finishing order up. So Mays gets a podium position, Wadge in 4th, Linga Bazinga in 5th, Immortalis in 6th. Jack comes home in 7th after finishing the line in 4th. Shame to see a 7-second penalty for him. He's going to be unhappy with that one. Snarling hangs on to 8th place. Dr. Potford in 9th. He kept it clean. Good drive from him. CDN rounds out the top 10 in that McGann with only 2-second penalty. Good drive from him too. Chris comes home in 11th in that white and pink Lamborghini. Survivor sorts that Z4 out once again and comes home in 12th. Flush falls back down to 13th. We saw a good start from him. Maybe he's made a couple of mistakes or got involved in a few too many battles and has dropped back just a little bit. Green Gaming ends up coming home in 14th, and Luke rounds out the grid in 15th in that brand new McGann, and Tibby was our retiree. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for round 6 of the GT3s at Flux Motorsport. You can join myself and McToasty next week. Be sure to go check out the stock cars tonight. They run at 8 o'clock Eastern time with one shoe. if you want to get involved in the action and you fancy just being part of the community, if nothing else, head to www.fluxmotorsport.com and hit the driver sign up button. Little disclaimer, we are doing some work at the website at the minute, so there's a chance it could look slightly different for the time being, but keep an eye on it. If you have any questions, be sure to contact us at any of our social medias. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button to show your support for the YouTube channel. It helps us out massively. I've been your host, The Console. I've been joined for Toasty. Thank you for coming with me tonight, mate. Always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, looking forward to next week already. The standings at the top looking like they're closing up, so back to Dubai. We'll see how it goes.
We like Dubai. The cocktails are good. But that is all from us at Flux Motorsport TV for tonight. As I said, check out the stock cars later on with one shoe. Thank you and good night.